Yo, what's going on everyone? This is AZN here. Today you guys are watching another figure review, and this time it's on the S.H.Figuarts power from the anime and manga series Chainsaw Man. So without wasting too much time, let's get right into it. Here's a quick look at the box here. We got the Bandai Namco logo, the official Tamashii Nature quality sticker, got a picture of power of the figure, of the one of the promo pics of the figure, and also the figure itself. Obviously you can't see much of the window because of the big old glare, because of the light that I'm using, so sorry about that. But anyway, so you get like these really cool looking paint splatter type effects that you often see in the manga cover of Chainsaw Man. So they pretty much trying to replicate the second volume of Chainsaw Man, like what they replicate with Chainsaw Man himself with this box. So I think that's pretty cool. They sticking with that aesthetic. And we got the Figuarts logo right there, the description about Figuarts, power, top not so much, bottom not so much, the side just another picture of power, pretty much the same picture, but not really the same, but another promo pic of the figure, and also some other promo pics of the figure showing her all the various poses that you can do with her, and a whole bunch of Japanese writing that I cannot read. For accessories, she comes with 2 ball fists, 2 clawing hands, 2 gripping hands for weapons such as her big old mallet, and 2 of her knives and her other hammer or mallet. I think they both the same thing, to be honest. I will point out that once you put the mallet on her, it does pull down a little weight. Obviously, I mean, it is hollow, but just keep in mind that, you know, if you pose her in a certain way, like if you want her flying and stuff like that, the weight of the hammer is gonna pull it down just a little bit, so keep that in mind. Nonetheless, if you make her carry it with 2 of her hands, 2 peace hands. I don't know the exact gesture of these hands. I feel like I've seen these somewhere before. I just can't really put my finger on it, but she come with these type of hands and some relaxed hands, and her little cat Nayeko or Miyawi. As for faces, she comes with a teeth grinning face, a more, I want to say more of a laughing face, a shouting face, a nervous face, and an even more nervous face. Overall, I think the amount of accessories that she comes with is pretty good. I kind of wish she came with that scythe that some of the statue figures got, even though she never used it in the show. I'm really glad that they actually put in the hammer with, you know, with her, the giant mallet also. So I think that's pretty essential to power. So overall, I think the accessories are pretty good. My only gripe with the faces though is that she doesn't come with a neutral or stern face. Maybe we get something like that in the future, probably not. But other than that, I think the amount of accessories that she comes with is pretty solid for the most part. The sculpt and the detail, for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. The face is pretty good in my opinion, but I don't know, I feel like something is a little off with the face. Maybe it's the way that the nose is sculpted. It just, I don't know, it looks kind of off to me. It's not terrible, by the way. I'm not saying it's terrible. It doesn't look bad. I don't dislike it. It's just that it looks a tad bit off. That's all. And this is not just with the new, like with this face. The other faces goes, like it goes to the other faces as well. What I'm trying to say, if I can speak English, but I think it looks pretty good for the most part. I think it might be the nose is what kind of throw me off of how it looks, because the art style is a little hard to capture. I mean, Chainsaw Man's art style is a little hard to capture sometimes, because I do see a lot of statue figures that doesn't accurately capture Power's face too. I don't know what the case is with that, but it still looks good enough. I mean, it still looks like Power, obviously. It's just that, I don't know, I feel like they probably should have made the nose look a bit sharper. That could be the reason. I don't know, but it still looks good enough to identify that it is power. And yeah, her outfit is pretty simple, just like every other public safety person who works at the job. I mean, if you watch Read Chainsaw Man, you already know that they wear like suit and ties, but Power wears a jacket for the most part, and it looks pretty solid. The white looks clean, although I am worried that over time that it will get dirtied up. I feel like it's already happening with some spots. And yeah, also while I'm in the middle of talking about the jacket, I'm personally not a fan of this gap right here. I can see what they was trying to go for, because often in the show she does have her jacket, like part of her sleeves, down where her shoulder at occasionally. So I think they was trying to, get her to replicate that pose while part of that jacket is down. But I think it just looks kind of weird. And also, I was gonna say this for articulation, but I'll just put this now. If you push the arm a little too far, it does tend to pop off. Maybe that's just with my copy. It does get a little annoying. But other than that, it looks pretty good for the most part. Pants looks pretty solid. I mean, they're just pants, so nothing really much to go over. The shoes look really clean and nice. I thought she had like a dot, like similar to what Dingy's shoes had, but I guess not. Maybe I'm tripping, but other than that, the figure looks pretty good. Looks pretty solid for the most part. There are some gappage between the sculpting, especially around here in the sleeve. This is probably the only thing that I dislike about the figure. I feel like they should have did what Backside Factory did with the Figma one. Just like have both of the sleeves up instead of have one of them down. Because I do find it a bit difficult to like adjust this part right here. And also the joint kind of, get stuck, and I'm afraid it might break it. So that's really the only gripe I have with this sculpting. Other than that, it looks pretty solid. You can already see I'm having a hard time adjusting it. So yeah, I can see what they was going for, but honestly, like I already said, they should have just kept it like this instead of having one of them down. But I can still put her in some really good poses. So at the end of the day, it's not really a big deal breaker. Not really a fan of it, but I can live with it. As for scaling, here she is standing next to Chainsaw Man, and I think they look great together. So yeah, they look really cool together. Denji is obviously a little bit taller than Power, so the scale, I think they just got right with these two. And here she is standing next to some other waifus I got in my collection. We got the Figma Saber from Fate Stay Night, and also Nobara Kugisage from Jujutsu Kaisen from the Dark Trio. If you know, you already know. Articulation. Her head can't really go up that much because of her hair. It does get in the way from bending it a bit further, so it's pretty limited there. Her head can go side to side, but on my copy is a little tight, so I don't want to end up breaking it. It's ratcheting a lot too. I might have to put some oil or something on it. But anyway, so that's it for the head. The neck, she could bend down pretty decent, not past 90, but it's good enough. And around the shoulders, it could bend pretty good. You do have to adjust these shoulders a lot if you want the arms to cross her chest, but it could bend that far, so that's pretty good. And around this arm can also bend pretty far as well, despite the gappage right here. Well, I mean, of course it's a gappage, so it would mean more articulation. I already mentioned that I don't really like the gappage right here, and I also mentioned earlier that if you push it too far, it will pop off, but it comes back in easily, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. Anyway, so we got like double jointed arms right here, so that could bend pretty far. We got like a wrist joint, and around the chest area she could bend pretty far, and she can't really go back at all. She goes side to side, and thankfully these pieces are like a softer plastic, so it won't get in the way from her doing the splits around the joints, around where the thighs are at. And her thigh can also do a 360, and her legs are also double jointed, so it can bend over 90. We also got a double toe hinge joint. She has like an ankle blocker as well. And I also forgot to mention that she can't really go nearly back or go that far back as Denji, but it's pretty good enough. You have to force it a little bit, but it will leave like a little bit of like a gappage right there. Not really a gappage, but you know, it is gonna look slightly off if you try to do that, but it's pretty good. It goes for pretty good as well too. I forgot to mention that earlier. But overall, the articulation is pretty good. There are a couple drawbacks, like you do have to adjust these two parts a lot if you want to pose her around. So it's not that bad. It's just gonna take a little getting used to, that's all. But I think the articulation for the most part is pretty good. You can pretty much replicate any pose that she does in anime and manga with no problem. It's just a matter of how much patience you got. It's just gonna take a little patience. That's all I'm really trying to say. So yeah, other than that, I don't really have that many other complaints, but how the way that this part is done, and also like adjusting the shoulders. My final thoughts on this figure, I say it's a pretty solid figure for the most part. The articulation on her is good, but I don't think it's nearly good as Denji or Chainsaw Man's, in my opinion. There are a couple of drawbacks. You do have to adjust her shoulders a lot, and the one of the ball joints actually popped off, like where her shoulder, like where half of her jacket is down to her shoulder, but I was able to put it back in. So other than that, the figure itself is solid. I just don't think it's nearly good as Chainsaw Man's, that's all. And the sculpting is pretty good for the most part, even though I do think her face is a tad bit off, but it still looks good enough to still identify that it is Power. So, and I wanted this figure because I really love Power. She's one of my favorite characters in the series, aside from Denji, of course. And yeah, other than that, it's a solid figure, but not nearly solid as Chainsaw Man. So if I have to sum up a score with this, I'm most likely gonna give it a 8 out of 10. It's way lower than Chainsaw Man's because I gave Chainsaw Man, I think, like an 8.4 or 5. So the articulation is still pretty good. It's just that when it comes down to like the shoulders and stuff like that, you do have to finagle around a little bit to get into those poses that you really want her to be in. But other than that, I think it's a really solid figure. Hopefully I get Katana Man at some point. I don't know if I'm gonna review him or not. But if I do, hopefully you guys will check that out as well. So yeah, so this has concluded my review on the S.H.Figuarts Power from Chainsaw Man. If you guys enjoyed this review, make sure you like, subscribe for my channel for more content, and I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.